our experience in Mongolia on accountability for the development goals and targets. As you know, the most important thing for us to achieve the results once the SDGs are formulated, and we cannot do it without monitoring and accountability. The formulation and elaboration work around the post-2015 development agenda offers for us an opportunity to launch a transformative approach to accountability. Accountability is crucial for achieving results. It strengthens political commitment and makes policy choices more realistic and incentivizes resource allocation and also improves delivery of the services. The monitoring mechanism needs to be independent and strong, so we have to recognize this importance. And we realize that the weak area related to the Millennium Development Goals has been an insufficient monitoring and accountability framework. So this needs to be strengthened in the post-2015 development agenda framework. The framework should be an instrument for achieving goals and delivering results. I will use the example of Mongolia's Millennium Development Goals formulation and monitoring, how it happened in Mongolia. Now, Mongolia, of course, joined the United Nations International Initiative on Millennium Development Goals, and we formulated our own Millennium Development Goals and adopted them at the Parliament in 2005 in April. I myself was one of the initiators of the Parliament Act to approve Mongolia's Millennium Development Goals. And on top of 8 international MDGs, we also came up with MDG 9, which was strengthening human rights and fostering democracy and governance. It also included zero tolerance on corruption issue at the MDG 9. So with regard to the monitoring, once the Act on Mongolia's MDGs was approved in the Parliament, we also decided to set up the Parliamentary Subcommittee on Millennium Development Goals and poverty reduction. So I think it was very important not just to adopt the MDGs, but also create a special committee that will be overseeing the success and monitoring of the MDGs. So the idea was that the Parliamentary Subcommittee on MDGs and poverty reduction will be monitoring and organizing hearings on the reporting of MDGs every 2 years. And then that subcommittee will be submitting it to the plenary session of the Parliament every 2 years, the MDG reports. And so far, Mongolia has produced 5 Millennium Development Goal reports, and every 2 years, Parliament actually organizes hearings on the progress of MDGs. We also have twice made revisions to our MDGs, and the most recent MDG targets include 9 goals, 24 targets, and 67 measurable indicators. These MDG acts in the Parliament have helped and became a basis for formulation of the Comprehensive National Development Strategy of Mongolia, which was approved in 2008 in the Parliament. So we have 2005 MDG targets and MDG Millennium Development Goals approved in the Parliament. Meanwhile, Parliament and the government have been working on the formulation of the National Comprehensive Development Strategy, and it was actually based on Millennium Development Goals. So putting the act in the Parliament together helped put MDGs as a basis of our National Development Strategy. And this National Development Strategy, when it was adopted in the Parliament, also Parliament actually endorsed and recommended that the respective governments in the future will take the actions with regard to the elaborating midterm policy documents, targeted programs and projects, and they should be aimed and coordinated with the MDG-based goals and targets. Now, currently the Ministry of Economic Development is responsible for monitoring of the progress on MDGs, and generally with MDG targets we have overall a mixed picture. Some indicators are on track, others are achievable with more effort, and some are difficult to achieve. Although we had proper structures in the Parliament to review the monitoring of the progress of the MDGs, what I felt, and I've been the first chair of the subcommittee on Millennium Development Goals, and I've been member of the Parliament since, and what I've noticed, one of the main challenges of the process is that although the structures are there, the process is there, to be completely honest, MDGs were not a hot topic in the Parliament. You know, at the United Nations and international forums and levels, there's a lot of discussions about the Millennium Development Goals. There is currently a lot of discussion about Sustainable Development Goals and post-2015 agenda, but if you go back to your local parliaments, governments, whether it's the local provincial level or the state level or even the federal level, I don't know how it is in other countries. It doesn't look that both MDGs or SDGs will be a very, very hot and interesting topic. It's an important topic, but I think therefore, I think we will need to have much more debate at the national levels on that. And although we had a very good example of what's called MDG 9, which was putting governance, accountability, targets in our Millennium Development Goals, what we found out that because we didn't have very sound monitoring indicators on MDG 9, it was more a declaration-like. So it was a good example that Mongolia put together MDG 9, but because we didn't have very good indicators, we couldn't really measure whether we achieved MDG 9 or not. And I can say it generally with, generally with good governance and accountability initiatives that we have taken in Mongolia. Since for the last maybe 8 years, we had very good legislative progress with regard to accountability laws, and that includes anti-corruption legislation, access to state information legislation, also conflict of interest legislation, political parties and election transparency and finance legislation. A lot of good governance legislations went through, but legally we have, legislatively we have progressed. In reality, of course, the devil is in details. We have a very good political support from our president, Elbek Dorj, who recently initiated a very good initiative called From Big Government to Smart Government, which includes a lot of initiatives to improve the governance and put the governance into a more effective and accountable manner. And one of the more recent bills that he submitted and was approved by the Parliament earlier in July was a legislation on glass accounting, which means that every budget spending will be transparent. And then he's also coming up with many other initiatives that will be putting accountability and good governance put into place together.